What should you expect on your private pilot check ride? Hey everyone, Jason Shepard here, MzeroA Online Ground School, and what should you expect on your private pilot check ride? You've heard people say, don't sweat it. Your instructor wouldn't have signed you off if you weren't ready. And that's all good advice, but there's some deeper things we can dive into. First and foremost, a little self-promo. We're giving away that DJI Avata drone all this time period here. Head over to MzeroAcontest.com to see the details, make sure that contest is still going on and get signed up. Maybe you can dive into some remote flying as well. So let's talk about your private pilot check ride. Really, the attitude you need to take towards it is, hey, this is my first passenger sitting next to me over there, this check ride examiner. So you're gonna sit down and you're gonna do what's called an oral examination. It's gonna be back and forth, and I always share, it's gonna feel like a deposition in a way. You ever been deposed before? What does your attorney say, right? Answer the question and zip it. A check ride's the exact same way. When they ask you a question and they say, let me give you an example. What is hypoxia? Hypoxia is the lack of oxygen to the vital organs in the body. And zip it. You don't want to dig yourself what I call a checkride pitfall. What is hypoxia? Well, hypoxia is a lack of oxygen to the vital organs of the body, particularly the brain. There's 4 types of hypoxia. What's the next question going to be from the examiner? 4 types, really. What are the 4 types? Avoid digging yourself into a checkride pitfall. Answer the question and zip it. We talk about this so much. Actually, we have 3 books, Past Your Private, Past Your Instrument, Past Your Commercial Pilot Check Rides. I recommend them on audiobook. I ask a question like I just did, pause for a second, and then I answer it for you. So you can think about the answer in your head. If you want to see it, you can always grab it on Amazon as well, or on Audible for that audiobook. But dive into there. Now, you're going to get through the oral examination, but just because you're done with the paperwork, going over the logbook, going over your cross country and everything else that you plan, it doesn't mean the check ride oral is over. In fact, funny story, super embarrassing story. No one told me that the oral exam continues on, right? I will never forget. I was walking to the airplane and I had a very forgiving check ride examiner. And just to give you some history on myself, I loved flying the airplane. I was a really bad student when it came to books. Life is funny. Look what I get to do now for a living, right? I will never forget. I was flying a 1967 Cherokee 140, 6711 Juliet. And we were walking out to the airplane. It's a Cherokee 140. And the examiner asks me, we're walking the plane together. He says, so how much horsepower does this airplane have? And systems were like my weakness. I didn't know anything. I know how to check the oil and that's about it. How much horsepower does this thing have? And I said, well, Mr. Examiner, it's a Cherokee 140, so it must have 140 horsepower. He goes, that's interesting. So that Cessna 172 over there then, that must have 172 horsepower. I looked him dead in the eyes and said, yes, sir, it does. I don't know how I passed my private pilot check ride. I did by the skin of my teeth, apparently. I was a 17-year-old kid who just wanted to fly airplanes, and I found a lot of grace that day, to say the least. And again, now look what I do for a living. I say, don't be like me. Back then, you have to study. You have to always keep learning. Let me share with you really some study tips. Not only diving into that audiobook, but immersing yourself in the entire process leading up to that. Dive in and make sure your logbook is solid, by the way. Nothing is worse or more embarrassing than having your examiner drive all that way just to realize you're missing a requirement, or you didn't add up your logbook appropriately and now you are missing a requirement. Whatever that may be, work with your instructor to do what's called IACRA, the form online. Just double check everything. Another crazy out-of-the-box tip is this is going to be a mental marathon. Expect 2 hours on the ground, hour and a half, call it 2 hours out at the airplane, maybe not necessarily in the air. It's going to be a 4 or 5 hour day. So let your friends know, let your spouse know, hey, you're not going to get a call from me for like 5 hours. So just nothing bad's happening. I'm just going to be out of pocket for like 5 hours, which means bring snacks, bring waters, bring the examiner something as well. You want them happy and feeling good as well, but bring snacks. Another thing, bring all the books that you own, all the aviation books that you own. They say it's an open book test, and that's partially true. You're certainly allowed to look up certain things. You can't look up everything, but there's something significant about being able to say, hey, I don't know that answer, but I know where to find that answer. And showing your resourcefulness goes a long, long way. You know, the night before that check ride, I need you getting a good night's rest. I need you eating healthy, avoiding alcohol, all of those things. Start getting everything prepared, the logbook, the documents, the endorsements, your reference material. Where's your E6B, your plotter? Are your charts current? Is your flight plan current? Do you have a current FAR aim? Can I share one more story? I'm sure I teach through stories. I had a student, very, very dear friend of mine, and I mentioned to him, I said, listen, you need to show up, please, please, please. He was using my FAR aim for everything. I said, you need to buy your own FAR aim. Oh, don't worry, Jason, I already got it. He shows up to the day of his check ride with his FAR aim, and his FAR aim is still in like the shrink wrap, fresh from the pilot shop. I said, the examiner's gonna be here in 10 minutes, and it looks like you've never even opened your FAR aim. Like, he's not gonna know the whole backstory. You know, Lord forgive me, I apologize. I took the FAR aim, I dog-eared some pages, I highlighted 91-205. I literally went as far as I took the cover and I went out to the asphalt, I can't make this up, of the parking lot at the Craig Air Center in Jacksonville. They can pull the security footage. And I scraped across the parking lot just to make it look like it was a well-used FAR aim. He passed with flying colors, by the way, but show up with current stuff and make sure it looks well used. It shouldn't be all shrink wrapped and pretty as well. Make sure you understand, by the way, your evaluator, your check ride examiner is your first passenger. Give them a passenger brief, just like you would when you're taking your spouse flying or your best friend flying or your son or daughter flying. Give them that passenger brief. You've got to be able to divert and divide attention. A failure to divide attention can bust a check ride. And I posted this quote on our Instagram not too terribly long ago, something to the extent of, you know what, people fail check rides thinking about that last bad landing, that last bad steep turn, and that last bad steep turn's not thinking about you, that last bad land's not thinking about you, but if you carry that into the present, you'll end up busting your check ride. One bad landing is not going to fail a check ride. One silly steep turn is not going to fail a check ride. But a constant deviation like that, which is triggered mentally by you just manifesting that and thinking about the negative, will bust a check ride with that. What are some of your best check ride tips? Let me know down in the comments down below. If you need help getting pushed across that finish line, don't forget the books. Also, you can check out the MzeroA online ground school at MzeroAtrial.com as well. And don't forget to enter the contest, MzeroAcontest.com, for that new DJI Avata drone as well. Have just a blessed, abundant rest of your day. I can't wait to meet you, shake your hand, and hear how we play just a small part in your big success on your check ride. And most importantly, remember, a good pilot is always learning. Have a great day, everybody. See you.